I think the government is very weak. It continually gives in to pressure, and it continually insists that this is the final point, this is the point of no return. But I'm sure that when push comes to shove, they'll find ways and means of backtracking. One of the things I worry about our government is that it is just not able to hold the line on anything. And I'm sympathetic to all the public sector workers, and I'm sympathetic to their desire for more money. I completely understandable in these difficult times, but we are faced with a public expenditure crisis, and the amount of public debt that we're incurring.
Yeah, but he's saying that he's not going to borrow or tax to fund this amount of pay rise. Well, so this is not going to come from additional borrowing.
Yeah, I know that. I think they're going to find different ways of magicking the money, such as charging migrants for more money when they come into this country. And I heard all this before, but I think by the time we get to this point next year, you will discover that magically the public expenditure on these pay rises hasn't been funded except by the taxpayer. And that's the dirty secret, that all the time the taxpayers are being asked to pay more and more money. And all the time what's happening is that we've completely given up on the idea that inflation ought to be controlled.
What do you make on these pay rises?
Yeah, in any other year, this would sound incredibly generous. But the problem with this year is inflation is 9.7%. So if you give the police, for example, a 7% pay rise, that's a 2.7% pay cut in real terms, and the others are worse off than that. So it sounds good as a headline figure, but if the pay rises are not keeping up with inflation, then our public sector workers are worse off. And
so do you think they should? So do you think that all pay rises in the public sector, because I've got to be honest, pay rises in the private sector don't match inflation, so why should pay rises in the public sector match it?
But most of these people are on quite low wages compared to a lot of public sector managers and so on, professionals anyway. So
I can hear my viewers, David. I can hear them. They're shouting at you right now. Some of them. I can tell you now.
Maybe they are.
What they'll be shouting,
I'm on dangerous territory.
What they'll be shouting is they'll be saying, you know what? A lot of people in the public sector, they do earn reasonable wages, and a lot of the pensions within the public sector are very generous compared to a lot of people in the private sector. So why do you believe that public sector pay rises should match inflation?
It's just a case of their pay is actually, I'm just making the point that their pay is actually going down in real terms. It's a difficult situation.
But most people's are. A lot of people's public and private.
But it's a difficult situation at the moment because in terms of the national finances, we're in an absolute state because this government and the government before them have been completely irresponsible with the national finances. We've had 25 years of them borrowing to spend money that is wasted on so many different things. I mean, you have HS2, you have migrant hotels, you have foreign aid, you have the furlough from the lockdown scheme, you have net zero, you have tens of billions of pounds every year being wasted. Surely some of those things can be cut, and then we can actually give a good wage to perhaps the police and the teachers and the nurses on the lowest wages, on the lowest wage bands, because we need to do that actually to retain them in their position. So I'm just making the point for those people. As someone who was a teacher myself, I do understand